Are you ready, kids?
Are you ready?
I can't hear you.
I can.
Oh.
This headline. Oh, are you recording?
No.
Okay. This headline, I'm going to read it to you
Yes.
really quick. Oh.
Welcome back to Can You Not? I'm Joe, and school is taking its toll on me. I think I aged about 40 years in the past 40 days.
Bum, bum, bum.
I'm Amber. School sucks. Don't do it.
I'm Brian, and school's alright.
Don't do school, stay in drugs.
Oh my gosh.
The opposite. No.
What?
No, I'm not actually advocating that. What were you saying, Brian?
I said school's alright for me.
Oh, okay.
No, that was our opinion on school. Good job, everybody.
And the real phrase is, don't do drugs, stay in school. That's for all of our sponsors out there. So welcome back to Can You Not? We are back once again with another topic for y'alls. And the one chosen by Amber this time is tropes. Can you explain to the audience a little bit about what a trope is?
So I was just going off of the website TV Tropes, but I understand tropes to just be like recurring things in that happen over and over again in storytelling. So like a damsel in distress is a trope because it's like everywhere, like it's in all kinds of different stories and things. So it's like recurring motifs, I guess, or like plot pieces and that kind of thing.
I have to think about tropes a lot because I do video production and make movie things. And I think at first I was so self-aware of tropes to the point where I was like, I can't have anything that's like a cliche or anything that's been done before. You know, like it was like this self-preservation thing. Like if I have too many things that like are similar to other stories, then people won't watch it. But the more I made stuff, the more I realized that tropes aren't, first of all, necessarily cliches. Like, a trope can still be, like, a reoccurring thing that happens throughout stories without being done to death, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I had to really figure out was that you can't really tell a story without having tropes. And TV Tropes even has a page on that where they talk about how, like, that story literally doesn't exist. Because for every trope, even if you try to fight that trope with the opposite of that thing, that's usually a trope too.
Yeah.
You know, like
Kind of automatically becomes it.
right. Like for every damsel in distress trope, there's also the trope of the damsel who saves the day. You know, like that's become a trope too. So like, it's not necessarily that these things are bad, but we should be aware of them. And honestly, I think
if you're aware of them, you can use it to your advantage more.
Yeah. I don't know, how much do you guys have to deal with it? I know, obviously, Brian also does movie-related things, and Amber does some writings and poetry and stuff like that. So, how about, what's your experiences with this?
So I think, I don't know, at least as far as like my writing and like what I do, and the stuff that I like, it's not necessarily that like cliches and tropes need to be avoided necessarily, but the problem with them is that people lean on them really hard. So instead of, say, creating a character and then, you know, okay, and then this character happens to fit into this certain trope, they look at the trope and then all of a sudden that trope is the character and then there's nothing else like happening. So the problem, or the same thing can be said about cliches, which is I think the equivalent in poetry and the kind of writing that I do, is that there's nothing wrong necessarily with the cliches because they're repeated for a reason. Like there's a reason these things keep popping up. The problem is that things become inauthentic when people lean on them too much. So I think authenticity is more important than conforming or not conforming to a trope,
right?
Cliche.
And the thing is too, because we have this whole history of movies now, it's weird how you get these like miniature ideas that only really happen within movies that come up time and time again that feel right when you try to put them in your movie, but only feels right because it's been in other movies. Like here's a short list of certain phrases that mostly you hear in movies that you never hear in real life. Like, is that all you've got? Or it's gonna blow. Or we've got company. Don't die on me. We could do this the easy way or the hard way. Get out of there! You just don't get it, do you? I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Stupid.
It's not what it looks like. Blank is my middle name. We're not so different, you and I. If you touch one hair on his or her head, sit down and shut up.
That's funny.
There's a storm coming.
How
Because
many
I
of
swear
these
Joe
are there?
used the sit down and shut up in One Day a Musical.
I probably did. Don't do anything stupid.
I say that.
I
say that a lot.
That's like a phrase. Like
Don't do anything
you
stupid.
don't have to be on TV.
Don't hurt yourself.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. Yeah, you better run. So like it's like
I say that one too.
Yeah, you
so,
better run.
With some exceptions though, a lot of these types of phrases are so used in movies that, like I said, they sound right when they are used in movies, but only because they're used in movies a lot of times, not because they imitate real life, kind of like what you were talking about, Amber.
I think what I've found is best to do, like whether it's with my photography or with movie stuff. First of all, the writing stuff, I never have really been good at the writing stuff. So probably everything that I write is like a huge trope. You know what I mean? Like one huge trope after the next. Like in terms of dialogue stuff. But I try to instead of just avoiding using those cliches, I try and make sure I add something else, like elsewhere, that's big and noticeable and takes your attention away from the cliche that's original. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
Like an actual personality.
Yeah.
Or something. Oh man, I just lost one of the things. Well, one of the things that I was gonna say is that at least as far as tropes, one of my favorite styles of theater and of movies is camp. And camp is like ostentatious, exaggerated, affected, theatrical, effeminate. Like these are all things that kind of go into it. And like the thing that comes to mind when I think of camp is the movie Moulin Rouge. Because it just takes everything that's happening and just throws it in your face like as hard as it can. And I love that. Like I think that's really great. So again, like it's not necessarily that you have to avoid these recurring things, but if you can really take them and use them, and especially if you can take them and throw them in your face in a really entertaining way, I think that's really fun. And then I guess the other thing that I was going to add really quickly is that part of the problem I think with trying to completely avoid tropes is that like we are people and we conform to like the little boxes and things, so it's hard to write a character that doesn't fit into any of the boxes because people fit into the boxes.
And even people who don't fit into boxes become a trope in and of
Then
itself,
they
so
are
you
a
can't
box.
avoid it.
Yeah.
What's funny is like yesterday I was doing this photo shoot, and I'm actually looking at the pictures right now, but like I found that like I would have an original idea after I took like 5 stereotypical pictures. You know what I mean? Like it took like me looking at stuff and going, hey, now wait a minute, I can just change this, that, and this, and it will look better.
Yeah.
You know?
One of my favorite TV trope phrases that I've latched onto over the years is the woobie. Are either of you familiar with what the woobie is?
No.
A woobie is a name for any character who makes you feel extremely sorry for them. Basically, the first thing you think to say when you see the woobie is, "Aw, poor baby."
Edward Scissorhands.
Yes.
Edward Scissorhands the woobie.
But the great part is there's all these subcategories of woobies too, or even like, what do you define? So like, an important aspect of the woobie is that their suffering must be caused by external sources. A character who suffers as a result of their own actions is a tragic hero and does not qualify. The difference between the woobie and such sickeningly sweet characters as quote-unquote the littlest cancer patient is that the audience actually finds the woobie compelling rather than pathetic. Where you draw the line is something a matter of opinion. It's like there's all these subcategories and little things, you know.
The littlest cancer patient.
Yeah, that's the idea of like, here, maybe this would be the best way to describe it. A particular risky form of the woobie, which is much more likely, though not certain to fail, than be successful with the audience. The littlest cancer patient, as you may have guessed from the title, is a small child, rarely over the age of 12, with some form of terminal disease, although they may be in recovery. So there's like explicitly designed to pull at your heartstrings, but it's so obvious and cloying that it comes across as super fake and like trying to make you overly emotional when they haven't earned it, you know? Mm-hmm. So... yeah. Anyway, the wooby I think is a very useful word.
The wooby.
Yeah. But the cool thing about TV tropes too is that they don't even extend just to movies and TV. Like looking just at the movie page, they have advertising and anime and comic books. Like these tropes aren't just for things that you read or watch, like just explicitly and sit down. Like there's they even have, for Jesse, pro wrestling examples of the movie.
Good.
There's a lot of those in pro wrestling.
Like one is Brie of the Bella Twins. Are you familiar?
Oh my god.
Cody Rhodes.
Oh, poor Cody.
I guess it worked.
Yeah.
Good.
Poor Cody Rhodes.
Oh man. Do you guys have any further thoughts on tropes and how they're used? Without going into your own topics.
Tropes and how is that what we were talking about? Is
I don't know.
tropes
I
and
was
how
kind of
they're
making it
used?
all over the place.
Hard to do without going into my topic.
Yeah. What was your topic?
I
You
don't really
started
know. I
out
just kind of
somewhere.
rambled about it.
Your topic was tropes.
I guess I'm glad that we did it first because it was kind of an introductory sort of
Yeah.
into the world.
Introduction.
Because I never used the word
Introductionary.
trope. I just thought of cliche.
That's the same thing, basically.
Yeah. Although cliche is usually viewed as a negative thing, whereas a trope can be.
Yeah, it can be both,
you know?
I guess.
My topic can just be like tropes that pertain particularly to women in media, because the reason why I picked tropes is because I watched this like 20-minute long video that the Pulp Culture Detective Agency did, which you can look that up on YouTube, and the title of this narrative device he calls Born Sexy Yesterday. Okay, and the idea is that in sci-fi there's this like recurring theme, and the idea of being born yesterday is very familiar. You know, like it's ignorance. It's like a lack of awareness of like how to interact with people, like, you know. But it's this idea that in sci-fi, a thing that happens a whole lot is you have this thing created. So sometimes it's a computer program, sometimes it's like a weapon, but a lot of times it is shaped like a grown woman. But because she was born yesterday, literally, she's very childlike.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of, you know, she's unbelievably wise, but she's also so ignorant that we have to include a scene of her taking off all of her clothes in front of the men because she doesn't know any better.
Fifth Element comes to mind.
Right.
Off the
They
bat. I
used-
like that movie.
They used
What movie?
The Fifth Element.
They used Tron, and Fifth Element,
Tron too.
is in this one.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. And the video itself goes really in depth because the idea is that, you know, I have an article pulled up just summarizing the video, and one of the points is it's actually about the men, because this woman usually ends up being the love interest of the main character for whatever reason.
Supporting character.
And they mentioned that it kind of comes out of how in like westerns or in earlier things, it wasn't sci-fi, but it still was white men exploring and finding, you know, this indigenous woman who he has to educate, you know, and that kind of thing. So that's like where it comes out of. And he talks about how it fetishizes the power imbalance, because you have this person who's like, you have the man who like knows what's going on and like is aware of how people work, I guess, and then you have this like woman who is this grown child basically to fetishize and all that stuff. And the other thing, and then we can talk about it if you want, is that when you switch it around and you make the guy the one who is ignorant, it becomes the butt of the joke. Like, and they think that part of the reason why that happens is because you know, this idea of like virginity and purity in women is like a huge thing that like a lot of guys dig for some reason, but women don't think it's cute. Like, women don't usually pursue a guy who has no idea what's going on with that kind of thing. Like, you know, and it becomes the butt of the joke instead. So flipping it doesn't necessarily fix it. And I just thought, I'd never thought about that particular thing before. So,
There's another interesting sort of branching off from trying to avoid this that I've noticed. So, like, obviously for many years, for a lot of Hollywood's histories, women have not had, like, super like big roles where they get to do cool shit. It's always kind of just like you're the side character, the romance and stuff. There were periods of time. There was a period of time in the early 40s when a lot of women were getting the main roles in the films and stuff, but then that fell out of favor. So yeah, but however, so I think there's an interesting thing that I noticed started happening probably like around the 90s and still happens today. And it's this idea of the badass woman who's flawless and has no character, where it's like, well,
yeah.
look, she's doing something, but then you actually look at the character and she's not nearly as fleshed out as the main character who's still the guy who gets all the story arcs and interesting twists. No, this character is usually just the stone cold killer or something like that who has no personality and no character arc. Or if she does have a character arc, she has to become a little bit nicer and falls in love with the main character. You know what I mean?
What I was gonna say is the movie Lucy, I think it was called. Where,
oh yeah, with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, where she took that pill and she like had no character until she took the pill, and like this pill made her smarter and blah blah blah. And it was kind of like, I don't know, like she did. It's like they only let her have some kind of character when she took this pill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I see a lot of action movies do this in particular because it's like, look, we're showing the female. It's like, yeah, okay, a female gets to do some cool stuff now, but she's literally just this like blank slate with no emotion or character.
Kill Bill.
Yeah.
That
That's a
actually-
huge one.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen Kill Bill, so I cannot comment on Kill Bill.
It's interesting that you said that because actually one of the things that they mentioned like in this that I forgot about was that a lot of times this thing that's created is very skilled at something that's impressive, like combat. And they showed one of the scenes in Tron where she's like beating everybody up with like a glowing sword or something, and she's like really kick ass and like, yeah, she can do stuff, but like, you know, she's still, so it's interesting that you brought that particular thing up.
Yeah.
But as far as like making this like really strong character and then like there's not like, I mean like physically strong character and then like the character part of it's weak. A thing that I think is interesting that I've actually been thinking a lot about lately is how like I was as soon as you started talking I thought you were just talking about Katniss Everdeen for like some reason. I just kind of like assumed that that's what you were talking about. And I a thing that I think is interesting is how you have these really, really strong characters, and in order for them to love somebody, you have to break them down. Like, and I've been thinking about whether, like, that's actually a thing that bothers me a lot, especially with how as a medium, you're teaching people how to connect with people or how to express themselves. And it kind of bothers me that a lot of times in movies, especially in movies, like, you know, 'cause you want the drama, you have this really painful thing that happens, and out of that is what comes the love.
That's what I was about to say. Well, in Kill Bill, have you seen Kill Bill?
I have bits and pieces.
Okay, so the whole plot of it is there's a woman and she was like a assassin, and she became pregnant by the guy that she was working for or something. And they were about to get married, and the guy ends up killing her, and she comes back to life, and her whole point is to go kill this guy, right? Like the whole point of the whole series is I'm gonna kill Bill. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, she was good when she was just an assassin and she was getting married and she was pregnant, but it took her losing the baby. Like, it was almost like all the things that made her a person, like, were her weakness. And then when she lost that was when she became strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't know.
That's one reason I really love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, even though people get teased. I get teased about it because it's a really campy show sometimes. But the one thing I love, well, the initial concept essentially was Joss Whedon said, how many times have you seen a movie where the monster chases a blonde into like an alleyway and like destroys her or something like that,
Right.
you know? And that's like the beginning of the movie. He's like, well, what if she was the thing the monsters were afraid of? And so, yeah, she could have easily just been that simple, like, she's just badass, so she doesn't have to have personality. But I'm sure fans of the show who are listening can agree. She goes through these terrific character arcs throughout the whole entire show. It's some of the best stuff I've ever seen for, like, a main character, I think. And and it's not just this one-dimensional thing, and there is so much more to that character that makes her feel so three-dimensional and believable and engaging. So I think that's one example of something that subverts it, in my personal opinion.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, I see you have VeggieTales up on.
Oh, I was just I was trying to find other tropes that were specific to women. I didn't really find anything super interesting. This one on TV Tropes is called Men Are Generic, Women Are Special, and it's the idea that I mean the easiest one is Big Bang Theory. Although I guess there are, it's not just there. I guess that's bad. I was only thinking of Penny, but like where you have these shows where it's like a group of all these different guys, and then you have like one female, and all these different guys have different interests, and they're all quirky in different ways, and then you have a lady and she has a vagina, and that's her special thing. So like, yay, we're all different.
I was gonna say with Big Bang Theory, that's kind of how the show started.
Yeah.
But they've moved away from that.
Yeah, I realized that as I was saying, because I remembered Penny, and then I remembered those other
but they came
people.
along way later. Like I feel like there could have been more than just the Penny, the sex object.
Right, and Joe said VeggieTales because this is what's pulled up on the screen, and it's like they're vegetables, but like one of them is wearing a dress and has hair, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is how VeggieTales does everything. Like,
guess which one the lady is?
Right.
Yeah.
The one with eyelashes.
Just vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of vegetable is that?
I have no idea.
That's probably that's the asparagus.
No, the lady one.
Oh.
What is
I
that?
think she was like a collard green or something like that.
That's not a leaf.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
None of them actually really
It looks like a
look too much
stick
like
with a pea for a head.
That's a tomato, a cucumber. That's a summer squash. That's a different kind of squash.
Asparagus.
And that's asparagus. And what the hell is she?
I think she's supposed to be a pea.
But peas don't have a stick.
No, you're right, because the peas on VeggieTales were just peas.
What is she? What the hell?
I can't remember. And those are the revamped characters that I did not grow up with, so I
don't know.
really don't know that.
There was like Bob and the asparagus, and there was Larry. Who's the asparagus? What was the asparagus name?
I never
The
watched
little boy?
VeggieTales.
It looks like she's a rhubarb.
What is
What does a
rhubarb
rhubarb
look
look
like?
like?
You've never had rhubarb pie? It's delicious.
But what does it look
Rhubarb's
like?
red. That is not what she looks
That's
like.
not at all what
That's
she
a
looks
leaf. What the goddamn? I'm mad. This is stupid.
But she's red-headed. That's why she has the red hair.
None of the other
What?
plants have hair.
I don't know.
If I got
Why-
hairy rhubarb, I would throw
And
it away.
rhubarb has green leaves.
She
and a
was a
red
green
stalk.
stick on a green stalk. This is stupid.
They needed a vegetable that looked vaguely feminine, and they couldn't find it.
This doesn't look feminine at all.
I guess
They already gave the squash to the
I guess the
guy.
squash was too curvy to be.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh man. Anyway, our sponsor today is VeggieTales.
No,
VeggieTales.
shut up,
by
Joe.
Jade. Spreading God's message of love. No. Actually, we don't have a sponsor this week, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh
I've been
no.
goofed.
How am I
gonna
This
eat?
semester just
What will my kids do?
This semester just caught up
We are
with me. I've been-
sponsored by fascism.
Oh.
That's true. They're not paying us though.
No, they're just taking our healthcare away.
They're just taking everything from everybody. Cause yay, go fascism, hooray! Oh god, now someone's gonna take that little snippet of me saying that out of context and like.
I'm gonna make that my ringtone.
No.
We do not support fascism.
Specifically me, because I was the one who said it. So I do not support fascism. But anyway.
Keep talking, Joe. Just
Oh,
keep doing
no.
it.
That
I'm
was
just
Joe,
digging
just
further
to
and
clarify.
further.
It does not support fascism.
Oh god. Anyway, I guess this episode isn't even brought to you by capitalism since we didn't have a sponsor. So
Nothing's brought to you by capitalism. It's all brought to you by labor. Hey!
Hello.
I pulled up this article and it says 10 of TV's most obnoxious, overused tropes. And I can read you some of them, but basically the article wasn't about the 10 tropes. It was about the fact that shows like Family Guy and Cleveland Show have mastered like using all of the tropes that have ever been created and making them hilarious. Like basically all of them are used by like Family Guy and they make fun of them all. You know what I mean? Like they'll take something from a movie or from a book or whatever that like is generic and they just make fun of it. Like The idea of one of them, which actually kind of ties into Amber's topic, is the ugly guy, hot wife. trope.
That's annoying. But see, okay, so it's fine. Okay, let me preface this. I don't like Family Guy very much. Okay, so grains of salt, but it's you can say that you're making fun of it, but to me, like, Family Guy doesn't really make fun of it. They just take it and then they keep laughing about it.
It's like they point it out, but they
but it's not really
with it sometimes.
But I mean, like, all of those shows do that. Like, literally every single one of those shows does that. The Cleveland show.
Right, but I don't like any of them.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get it.
Amber's
That's
like,
what
don't mess with my tropes.
Oh, no, I mean,
just kidding.
they're not mine, one. And
What
I
else
like
is
my
there?
ugly
not
guy,
that I
hot
have
wife.
not been mindlessly entertained by Family Guy many a night. Like, don't get me
Or-
wrong. I'm not
Or
above
like
it.
We Want
but-
Our Jerk Back, which would be like an episode where the character that's like an
Squidward?
asshole. Yes, like if Squidward was a good guy for an episode,
yeah.
and then everybody's like, "Well, no, we want Squidward to be a dick." So
Squidward.
like, Squidward.
I feel like I like those. I can't
Yeah, I
think of
like
anything
those
except
episodes.
Squidward right now. But like,
Roger
Squidward is
from
great.
American Dad, he had an episode where he was like trying to be nice, and everybody was
the
like,
beginning of
"But
that one
he's
BoJack
not."
Horseman season.
Yeah.
But
I feel
yeah.
like Oscar the Grouch has pulled that a couple times.
There was
on
one.
Sesame
There was an
Street.
episode of The Office where Dwight was like trying to be nice to everyone or something.
yeah.
I
Too.
don't remember that one.
The Office is a good show.
The Office is such a good show.
Especially like around like season 3.
The Office
or
is
around
such a
there.
good show.
They said Peter Griffin had an episode of that too on Family Guy. But yeah, he was in all of like it was like Family Guy was like everything. So I
What
just
if-
kind of wanted to.
One thing I think that's interesting too is I'm not like a mega fan or anything, but I respect and like The Simpsons as a whole.
Simpsons was one of those.
I've
too.
never
And-
watched The Simpsons before.
And The Simpsons is one of those things like in the late 80s, early 90s when it was first big, it was like so different from everything else and it like really like kind of changed the game and that's usually when people consider it was at its best. It was like early mid 90s. Over time though what happened was I think it kind of became one of those Family Guy-esque shows in a way. And I think there's still I've caught episodes here and there every now and then and they still do some good episodes every now and then. But they also sometimes fall into that trap of like, let's just point out something and not make a joke about it. Let's do a cutaway gag. Let's
Yeah.
do now Homer's like Homer was like dumb before, but he was also like cared about his family. There's like some episodes where it just seems like Homer is just like so dumb that he doesn't care about anybody but himself. And like that doesn't feel true to what the character was. It feels like they're trying to play so much to those tropes that they've kind of played so much
So
to.
are those shows in general, like shows like that, do you consider them tropes themselves?
I think that's called comedy.
Yeah, no, but like
And this is why I don't like things that are trying to be funny, actually. Like, I was just thinking about it.
Then
and
why
I actually...
do you hang around us? No, I'm just kidding.
God,
Oh,
I
God.
don't know. No, but I was thinking about this, and usually, like, if I'm trying to go see a movie with somebody, I'd be like, I will go see, like, just about anything with you, but it cannot be a comedy, because I can't, because the thing is that comedies are trying so hard, and they are usually so stupid, it's painful, but, like, if you have something that's a drama, and the drama tells a joke, it's usually hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, and I think part of that might just be that I like laughing at morbid things. So, I mean, that's my problem, but, like, I'm thinking about it, and I think the reason why I don't like Family Guy and why I've never tried The Simpsons is because a lot of the humor is they're lowbrow jokes, and they're just pointing at things, and you're
Yeah,
supposed
that's
to
what I
think,
mean,
you know
like-
what I mean? Like, I don't, comedy.
I feel like that kind of theme of like, instead of like coming up with something original, they take something and then just point it out, or something that's
Slapstick.
generic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
Kinda.
like that's kind of like become a trend
Yeah.
among television shows.
Well, the Simpsons used to not. I don't think bill itself as a comedy. I think it was just a show about like a sweet family kind of show. Not sweet in the sense that it wasn't like for the whole family to watch, but I'm saying like the family itself was sweet, and that was like what kept you coming back. And the jokes were part of the show, but it wasn't like that's why I think something like BoJack Horseman works so well.
And I really like Futurama a lot too.
Yeah, I feel like
Futurama was on that list of shows with them.
I know. Yeah, it's the same, but I like Futurama.
Because I think there's a certain level of drama, you're right, to those shows where it takes itself a little bit more seriously. Like, whereas something like Family Guy feels so, like, there's such low interest or stakes for the characters. Like, I don't really care about the characters on Family Guy, really, for the most part.
I feel like they tried to steer towards, like, caring more about the characters when they do, like, the Stewie and Brian stuff. Or, like when Brian died for, like, however long he was dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then everybody was like, bring back Brian. And they like, showed emotion in Stewie more than just his normal wittiness.
I don't even think in BoJack Horseman they take themselves seriously. I feel like they have. Okay, so BoJack Horseman is like my favorite show ever. So again, grains of salt. But like BoJack
more
Horseman.
Than Steven Universe.
Steven Universe too.
Steven Universe isn't really a comedy. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying, like, do you consider...
I am not caught up in
There's
Steven
some
Universe.
laugh-out-loud moments in Steven Universe, but they kind of come, like, far and few between in each episode.
But BoJack Horseman, it feels more like they're telling a story. BoJack Horseman honestly feels like a really authentic story to me, as much as a horse guy can be, I guess. I don't know. But it feels like they communicate, like, complex things very well. And I don't know why I like Futurama. I really think I like Futurama because it's so bizarre sometimes, but...
Yeah. I feel like it's a way more bizarre version of those kinds of shows. Because they do the cutaway kind of thing too, like where they're just like, "Look at this, isn't it funny?"
Yeah, I don't. You're right. They totally do. Yeah. I can't. I like Futurama though.
Here's a good contrast. In one of the episodes that sticks out for me in The Simpsons, there's an episode called Bart Gets an F, and it's this whole idea like basically Bart Simpson's grades have gotten really really bad and. He might get like kicked out of school pretty much.
I've seen that episode.
Oh, you've seen that episode?
It's a really good episode.
It's a kind of emotional episode a little bit.
It's a very good episode.
He's just bad at school. He tries so hard after he realizes that this might be his last chance, and he still gets he studies on a snow day and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden he goes in for this test to try again, and he gets a 59% on the test, meaning even despite his best efforts. He still failed, and he gets sad, and I guess he makes some like obscure historical reference or something like that. Has the teacher bump him up to a D- in order to stay, but still, like that's the kind of storytelling, like that sticks with me. Like an episode like that sticks with me in a comedy, not the ones where it's like that one was so funny. Like something that really touches me. I was about to say,
I guess Futurama has those kind of episodes. Like,
oh yeah,
my favorite episode of Futurama is the one with the dog. That waits for years for him in front of the pizza shop.
Yeah. See, was the dog a whoopee?
Oh god.
Yeah. So I think TV shows have gotten really good at that as of late because all the ones that are getting acclaim are these shows that go beyond just being a drama. They also make you laugh. The shows that go beyond just making you laugh because they're also the drama. I think people want
what
that.
People are starting to understand is that everything's terrible and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So you just have to make everything terrible and we're all going to be like, ah!
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But finding the humor in it too, because there's a movie I watched. It's called Beautiful.
It's called The Babadook.
And that's
I actually watched The Babadook.
I like The Babadook.
I've never seen The Babadook. I want to watch The Babadook.
So there's this movie called Beautiful, and it's spelled wrong because it's an indie movie, and that's just how pretentious it is.
Ooh.
And it's this well-regarded director, right? Like this guy's done stuff.
How's it spelled, Joe?
Biuttiful.
T-I-F-U-L?
Fee?
Are
we in a frat now?
New letter.
It's Greek life.
And don't get me wrong, it's a Spanish film, but that's not how you spell in Spanish either. Like it has, it's a plot point, the way that's spelled. Anyway, so like this movie isn't like the most well-regarded movie. I mean, it has a 64% in Rotten Tomatoes. Watching this movie is one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had watching a movie. I couldn't barely get through it. And the reason is...
It was worse than the Easter Bunny Puppy?
It was harder to get through than the Easter Bunny Puppy. It, not because the movie itself was... Like, there was nice cinematography. The main actor was really good. But literally, all the movie was basically just like sadness porn, essentially.
Oh.
One bad thing would happen to someone, and then another bad thing would happen to someone, and then another. There was no joy or hope at any point in the movie, except maybe at the very, very end. You got like a little glimmer after he died. Spoilers. But literally, most of the movie's like, and then this sad thing happened, and then this sad thing happened, and then, oh, now the child has this disease. Oh, now this factory burned down and all these people died. Oh, now the main character is ill too. And now I'm like, I can't take this. This is too sad.
What's so funny to me right now is that, like, with BoJack Horseman, except they give you glimmers of hope. So what this sounds like to me is, I want to be miserable, but please give me some small glimmer of hope and then rip it away from me so I like it more.
That's part of the joy. But also just the fact that this show is funny too and it's entertaining. So even though it's sad and it's profound, you're still entertained
I feel like
and
I should
interested.
start watching BoJack Horseman.
Dude, let's
You need to
watch
watch
BoJack Horseman.
We should have a marathon.
I love I've watched the whole
Is it
thing.
on
I think.
Netflix?
Yeah, it's a Netflix original.
Oh.
I think I watched it 3 times and I will watch it again with you. I like that show so much. Oh my god.
Anyway, our time's up.
This show's brought to you by BoJack Horseman. Yep.
But if you would like to check out more episodes, you can go to our iTunes. You can go to our Soundcloud. You can go to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Gmail, canyounotpodcast@gmail.com. You can go to our...
Excuse me while I do the Paul Ryan dab until
Oh!
You know what voice that sounded like for a second there? It was like, have you guys seen Rogue One?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the character that Forrest Whitaker plays in that movie. Oh, he talks like this whole time.
It does, kinda.
I was like...
That's funny.
I didn't think of that until this moment. Anyway, yeah, we're on all your favorite podcasting platforms. And actually, if you give us a review on iTunes, we'll read it on the air because the reviews actually really, really help us. They do, audience.
Damn,
And we want to...
24 million.
And if we...
24 million.
And if we want to rise above the other
24
Can You
million.
Nots in the search results, we gotta get
I
them
declare war.
reviews.
I
Don't
declare
declare war, Brian. Last time you destroyed Amber's apartment in your rage for...
Your apartment's next.
Oh, Brian.
I'm trying to think.
Put down that lamp.
I don't think Brian. I think they left a Wendy's bag behind, and that's like it. I think we had a pretty good time when Brian was in my apartment. After we all went bowling. That was a good day.
It was good times, good times.
We need to go bowling again, y'all.
Anyway, people who overuse cliche tropes, can you not?
Cliche tropes. Now we're putting them together.
Oh, I found somebody said the difference between a trope and a cliche. Do you want to hear it really fast?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Can you work it into a can you not?
I don't know. Okay, so in this one, it says that there are a bunch of tropes, but they come from the character's history, the character's choices, their tastes and personalities. So that's a trope. Whereas a string of cliches put together to serve a plot thrown into a character, that's what a cliche is. It's something that you give a character to serve a plot instead of something that's actually tied into who they are as a character.
Right.
So people who don't make real characters, can you not, I guess?
Is that all you've got?
Joe.
I was using one of the lines.
I know you were. We know. We know.
Brian,
I was
do you have
very lost.
Brian, do you have one for us?
Can Family Guy not for Amber?
Oh, thanks.
Aw,
Aw.
looking out.
Yay.